Hello
everybody, my name is Adam Cleary, this is Scott Tailford, and I have not got to watch on mere minutes out of the cinema having seen Spiderman.
Ran back.
No Way Home. We have the big questions, well, I'm only kidding, we do not have the big questions answered for you because this is our non-spoiler initial discussion. Obviously, we're going to talk about the film, but we know what the big stuff is. We know what stuff we wouldn't want ruined for us, so we will not be ruining that for you. There will be a full spoiler discussion, myself, Scott and Amy, that'll be coming up later on for you, but these are the initial thoughts. Immediately at the cinema, my adrenaline is still really, really high. Scott, I'm just going to ask you,
go on, mate.
Straight up, off the bat, does he do whatever a spider can?
There are many times that he manages to pull off whatever a spider can. This is the biggest, craziest cinema event in quite some time. I think the whole time when we were sat watching things unfold, and obviously to stay away from the spoiler stuff, we'll get into the biggest things later on. It was just that feeling overall of, okay, this is why I need to see something with people in a cinema. This feels like a payoff to multiple movies worth, obviously multiple 20 years worth of Spider-Man. There are all these different things that are circling around the reality of sitting there and just seeing what they've done with the lead up to this, and they pay that off. I think that it's really weird. The thing that hit me for the first half, because I like the back half a lot more, the thing that hit me in the first half was that is that it felt like a roller coaster ride in almost a bad way. Like it felt like one of those rides where you sit down and you're in like a thing and it moves around.
We go.
Yeah, and like you're getting fed visuals and you're sort of like, well, this is cool, this visual's cool, I like where I am, but I'm not feeling anything, and that's what took a while to get there.
If you may forgive me, what I'm going to try and do for the benefit of both me, you, and the audience at home is structure this somehow. So, a lot of hype going into this film, but as we discussed on the walk back, quite a strange hype because there are several marketing elements of this that have either been not confirmed or not revealed or whatever, and they would normally be, you'd think, the things that might get people into the cinema to see the film. Yes. Now again, if you think that, there's no spoilers there whatsoever. However, they've not done that. They've just given us sort of a basic tease of what the premise is. They've showcased a few what's the opposite of future? Past faces from from Spider-Man's cinematic outings, and they've gone, look who's coming to this. Yes. Let's see how
coming to dinner.
Let's see how that plays out in the universe you've all come to know and love, and that's led to a weird kind of marketing around it and a weird kind of hype. So the first question, the bottom line here, does it for you live up to that hype, as strange as it is?
Yeah, because I think that in that specific question and answer, yes, because it is an event movie. It is something that I don't know how many times I'm going to watch it again, but it is one of those things where it feels like the payoff to all that marketing. Like I said, it's an event. The thing that I love the most about that first half was just seeing things with a group of people, seeing the culmination of all that marketing stuff. But it is still a roller coaster ride. It almost doesn't really find its heart until about halfway through. But that is intrinsically linked to a lot of the spoiler stuff, and probably not the one that you're thinking of. There is more to this movie.
There is more. Look, I will say, even if you've sat at home and theorised about this for a while, there is considerably more to this film than you will have theorised about.
I do not say considerably. There is a lot. There's the whole thing.
Well,
at the same time,
I'm saying considerably because it's so long.
Yes, they all go 2.5 hours long.
Yes, considerableness is very much the watchword of this film. So we'll take you through what we can say about this. From what you know of the trailers, obviously Spider-Man, his life has been revealed. Everyone knows he's Peter Parker, thanks to J. Jonah Jameson, who... I would say slightly...
He's so good.
He's so good, slightly underutilised. Yes. He's a good plot device in this, and he gets a few good moments, but it's not really his film in the same way.
He's in it about as much as the 2018 Insomniac Spidey. Like, he's sort of just... They've got him doing the online ranty thing, and he's kind of like that.
So he's done that. Everybody knows Spider-Man as Peter Parker. It is ruining his life. It is ruining the lives of the people he loves. So he goes to Doctor Strange, as we've seen in the trailer, and says, can you not do like a magic, wishy-washy thing? Yeah. Can you not do one of those, please? And he goes, well, I shouldn't. What am I like? We need to get a film somehow.
I've got this banter mug, so this is the mood I'm in.
I'm going to have to, so the movie can happen, I guess. And Spider-Man being what... Basically, they've turned Peter Parker into Tom Holland on a press tour. And he just sticks his neck in, sticks his head in, gets all his fingers all up in it, and it goes awry. And then the villains from Spider-Man's past, Spider-Man's other movies, a.k.a. now the multiverse, they start appearing, and it's kind of... There's a bit of tension between Spidey and Strangey about how they're going to deal with that, which again you've seen in the trailer, and then from there is about 2 more hours of the film.
The thing is, there's so much that has to happen for the sake of the movie to happen, and it's one of those things where it's that balancing act of, does this feel character motivated or does this feel plot motivated? And they're entirely plot script motivated. The whole thing with the spell feels hokey as hell to me.
Fair.
It works, it's a comic book movie, you've seen plenty crazier things in the comics themselves, but at the same time, in the moment, if you're talking about contextual, belief, suspension of disbelief, it is just Tom Holland / Peter Parker is just going to be a moron so we can do this thing, and he's repeatedly a moron throughout it, which is fine. They do something with that eventually, but it is that feeling of, oh God, May, stop messing everything up.
I only recently discovered Pitch Meeting on Screen Rant,
and
I will say
they're going to have a field day.
They're going to have a field day over this film, but I will say all the moments that jumped out at me in that context as you described, the reaction it got from me was very much, all right then.
Yeah, okay.
I guess okay, we're doing that. And I wouldn't say it doesn't like break the immersion, it doesn't ruin the film for me. I can comfortably say I personally have had a very nice time in the cinema.
Right.
I like being in that world. I like a lot of those characters. I like the adventure they've all just been on. Will I sit here and be like, oh, it's a watertight film, it's a brilliant piece of filmmaking?
Is it actually a film for the first half? Or is it just a roller coaster with visuals?
Of a collection of scenes that they needed to make to put a trailer together, which wouldn't ruin anything. Yeah, I will say, based on all the stuff you've seen about the trailers, they are very much front-loaded. There is little bits from near on the end, but they have very much front-loaded that first half hour in those trailers. And there was a point about, I think, 30 or 40 minutes in where I was like, I don't think I've seen anything of what's about to happen, which, as somebody who hates how much trailers give away, genuinely really like. There's so much more from that point on in the film, which they've obviously kept apart from the trailers because they don't want you to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think for me it was just that feeling of, these things are working, it's very much an event film, etc., etc. Things I said before, but it takes time to find its footing, and the most scathing thing that I can say about it, and it is entirely that first half, is that I wasn't feeling anything. I was just kind of watching stuff happen. The pace is insane for the first 5 minutes especially. It's sort of like, let's rush through the stuff from the end of Far From Home and let's just get to the stuff for Doctor Strange and fly through all that. And like you said, 2.5 hours long, a lot happens. By the time you get towards the back half where you're thinking about how far you've come, you've gone through a lot.
You are simultaneously Far From Home. You are anticipating a dramatic homecoming, but you realise with how long's left on your watch, there may be no way home.
Well, one of the biggest positives overall, in
do you know what? I started doing that. I felt like it worked when I had the just the joke.
Just circling around the home. But still, the thing that I love the most is that I'm a stickler for originality. I'm sick of seeing the same movies over and over and over again, the same formula, the same tropes, same cliches, etc. This felt original. There was a great beat. Even if the first half feels very much crazy, ridiculous, just make sure you have fun, scoop your popcorn, everything else. When it gets to when all the sort of machinations of the plot are laid bare, you don't know where it's going. You don't know how it's going to wrap up, and you have no idea how it's really going to go. And I love that feeling. I miss that feeling.
I will say as well, I've massively felt the Marvel burnout after Endgame, because I think it had been pointed out, a lot of these films, while great and enjoyable, had started to become a bit trope heavy.
Oh god.
Admittedly, tropes they invented, but still they were all becoming fairly samey. And I think the challenge for Phase 4, which we've seen, they've tried to do different things in some of the TV shows. They're obviously trying to do some different things with like the multiverse stuff that's coming into it. I agree with you completely there. There was, heading into the final act, I genuinely did not know what was going to happen, what direction it was going to go, how they were going to set that up. You're expecting, even the things I did sort of expect, they subverted quite nicely. It's very difficult to talk about this without telling you how they did it, but I will say the film will surprise you in positive ways, even if it does maybe slightly disappoint you at the start.
It's just literally...
I would personally, I said this to Aidan when we left, I would personally like to sit down with whoever wrote the dialogue for the first half of that movie and just take them to...
Just Scooby-Doo this crap.
Just take them to one bar where people are talking and go, listen, do you hear anybody talking the way you're writing this? The rest of it, fine, but whoever did that first half, get some mates.
Yeah, like I said, the first half is the bit that feels the most tinkered with by studios, just to sort of say, we need this to happen, we need this to happen, because we've got all these different things happening later on, and we need to make sure that this other stuff is coming together. It's just my most scathing thing I was going to say is that for the first half, it just doesn't feel like a film.
The interesting thing about that is the reshoots are very noticeable in that first half. There's Doctor Strange's hair, for example, will leap off the screen at you in one scene, and then immediately, in the same scene, is all of a sudden...
He has mascara at one point that he doesn't have at another point.
You can see immediately a big scene that they've just had to do again from the middle of nowhere. And I think that probably does play into how, like, well, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do that, and it throws a whole extra load of stuff in, which, again, I think, normally we go back, don't we, and we find some discrepancies between trailers and actual thing. I think
there's one really big one.
That scene in particular... Well, no, I don't mean, like, I don't mean something they've had to do.
Right.
But, like... There is that scene in particular. I think there's different dialogue in the version I've seen in the trailer, and it played out very differently here with obvious reshoots. So I think that's something they've probably going to redone.
Yeah, and I love that from the Marvel stuff. They like intentionally mislead you so they can edit a scene differently. We were talking about the Hela stuff. It's like change the background, so actually it happens somewhere else. There's a couple of really noticeable parts of ADR where it's just sort of a side of a character's face, mouth isn't doing what they are saying, but whatever. The vast majority comes together. I think that for me, I always grade on what were they going for and did they execute it. And as much as, you can go down the Martin Scorsese route of what the hell even is this even a film, etc.
The
thing with the big scores.
Let us live.
At the same time, they were clearly aiming to be this big roller coaster meets tribute to the 20 years worth of Spider-Man meets the next step after Endgame, and can we believe in the future of the MCU and all that stuff again? And it nails that side of it. So yeah,
I will say I agree with what you're saying. However, I think that pedestal you're putting them on is this wide.
It's tiny.
And they are balancing on it purely off the dimensions of Tom Holland's likability in this role. There were a lot of points where I thought, if I didn't care about this character, and it's Tom Holland's portrayal, I think, very much that makes me care about this character. If I didn't care about this character, if I wasn't invested in seeing things work out well for him, if I didn't like seeing him happy, not like seeing him sad, if I didn't share his joys and his pains, I think this movie would fall flat on quite a lot of its emotional beats.
The thing that's interesting, though,
crucially, I just want to finish that point. Crucially, it does not, because of how good Tom Holland is in the role.
The thing that's fascinating about it, it's one of the things with Endgame where you sort of hold it up, and if you're going to recommend Endgame to someone, you almost fundamentally can't, because you need all those other movies to make it work. You need to have been a fan of Spider-Man for 20 years to really, they lean on so much of that stuff from the past movies for it to work, that inherently, structurally, it is an event movie by proxy, but at the same time, you couldn't just give this to someone, because it wouldn't make any sense. It's one of those payoff films. It's like Endgame in that way.
It's the emotional beat specifically, like, you need to understand why some stuff is a big deal, because they do not have time to reintroduce an audience to all these villains. They do not have any chance whatsoever to do backstories for, because we've seen the trailers. Elektra's there, Sandman's there, Green Goblin's there, Dr. Octavius is there, Lizard's there. They cannot go and do they cannot assume you're coming in cold. You need to know what their stories are, what their motivations are, what their relationship with Spider-Man has been, where it left off in the previous films, what caused it. And if you don't, you will literally just have these empty bad guys.
Well, the thing is, like, it's almost like a new dimension of critique, because I already can imagine there's a whole bunch of scathing critiques saying this doesn't work at all if you haven't been a fan of Spider-Man for 20 years. That's the point.
Not unfairly, I would say.
Not unfairly if you are going down that road, but they're building something for people who have grown up with this franchise. There are specific jokes in here for people of our age who grew up with Spider-Man at the time, and they are...
Everyone in the comments is like, what, 25?
Yes, of course, 22. But at the same time, they are, like I said, they're paying off all these things. They made me cry with a facial expression at one point, which I'm not going to go into any more than that, but if you were there at the time, you'll remember what they were going for, and you'll remember all the online discourse, and this is the payoff to that, which is also be very, very specific and vague at the same time.
Yes, and speaking of which, we're going to leave it there, because this is our non-spoiler review, and I will get carried away otherwise. So, more Spider-Man coverage to come. Myself, Scott and Amy, we'll be doing a full spoiler breakdown later on.
We're not leaving this room.
We'll also be doing some videos looking at interesting things that maybe you might want to watch or whatever, but we'll get to that. For now, this is the non-spoiler review, so let us know your non-spoiler thoughts. I'm deadly serious about that, by the way. I will find you if you ruin it for anybody.
This is his origin story.
In the comments below, and of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. In the meantime, though, Scott, where can get you on Twitter?
I'm at @Hadablur. I'm /LP89.
And I'm at Adam Cleary, CLERY. A nice grown-up Twitter handle for a nice grown-up person. But in the meantime, get us all at Whatculture. I know I said WWE there because I'm used to being in that studio. Just Whatculture, and we will see you soon.